Hello and welcome to The Racing Journey, a podcast about all things Formula Student, everything from technical engineering, management, stories and experiences in the world of building a Formula Student race car. My name is Pranay Ketaneni, captain of Velocita Racing, and let's get started with today's episode. Today we have with us Stephen Brills, the founding member of Velocita Racing in 2015. He's one of the smartest and the most dedicated person I ever know, and welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you for having me, Pranay.
So, how have you been? How was your first week of 2021?
2021 has been good so far. I've got a lot of plans for this year. Hoping to do my master's. So, Yeah, it's going on.
So, for those who don't know who Stephen is, he started in mechanical engineering in Ramaya in 2015 and graduated in 2019. He was one of the first members who created Velocita, and he'll be talking us through about the backstory, how it started, what were their goals, and how Velocita Racing became Velocita Racing it is as we know of now. So before that, let's see what Stephen is as a person. So what do you like? What are your interests, Stephen?
So obviously I'm here because I like cars a lot. Really like cars. Of late, I've gotten a lot into philosophy.
Nice.
Might be a strange obsession, one might think, but yeah, it's just something I picked up towards the third year, fourth year of my engineering, when you get a little more free time.
Alright, free time.
I like playing the guitar. I like running.
Yeah.
That's something else that I started around third year.
Nice.
Yeah, so these are a couple of my interests. The thing that links both of us together is basically cars.
The cars.
Obviously.
So, knowing you, and for people who don't know, so he's a big JDM head. And what's your favorite car ever that came out of Japan?
My favorite one, it has to be the Supra. I know there's a lot of hype around it, and people don't like it now because of
that too much hype.
Fanboy hype. Exactly. So it's like, I understand that. I know it's gone a little bit overboard probably, but it's the car that I first fell in love with.
Yeah, and
so there's that initial connection that I can't drop. But over time, I have to say, like, a little bit of my interest in the Supra has dropped, and I have gained some interest in other cars, but I can't lose my initial touch.
The roots for the 2JZ engine
exactly.
That caught your attention.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's how Steven is. He's into cars. That's all. I think that's the most majority of our audience. So let's get started. Let's go with the first topic I wanted to discuss. What is the story behind Velocita Racing? How did it start? Everything about it.
Okay, so we're going to have to go a long way back. So we started around October in 2015. It was just a couple of us guys hanging out in the medical canteen. The common thing between all of us was that we like cars. That's the only thing, the common shared interest. We started having lunch together, and a close friend of mine, Abhishek Menon, he went on to become the captain of the team. He was the one that first came up with this idea. He had a brother who was part of the Formula Student team in VIT. And Abhishek was a petrol head himself. His brother was one. He heard a lot about the activities that his brother was a part of. He knew that it was possible to build a car in college. I was not even aware of these competitions at that point of time. So he's the one who first came up with the idea, and he was like, you know what, who's in, who wants to do this? And all of us, again, being big fans of cars, we were like, yeah, I mean, we want to do this. The thing is, you come to college from school, and especially till 12th grade, like, what are your outlets? Even if you like cars, what are you going to do about it? You can watch YouTube videos. You can watch all the engineering explained videos you want. You can watch all the Top Gear episodes you want. all that's doing to you is creating a lot of
Curiosity.
motiv- curiosity and motivation to do something, but you can't really get your hands dirty in school.
Hmm.
Yeah, 10th grade board exams, 12th grade board exams. What are you going to do about your car passion? Here we are now, first year, college life, you're free, things to do, and someone's like, let's build a car. There's nothing stopping that energy. Like you're just coming pumped from school and you want to build a car. So we had all the motivation in the world. And the first goal initially was, as I told you before, we wanted to start with the Formula Student car.
Hmm.
We had a few criteria for our first team.
Hmm.
It had to be all freshers.
Okay.
The reason for that was we really wanted to set up the team and build the car and learn to build the car and go through with that process entirely on our own without any spoon feeding. We felt like there would be more in it for us if we really started from scratch
Hmm.
and really went through the process of starting it on our own. So, which is why we did not want to join any other team with seniors.
Hmm.
And I told you, with our hype and energy, we directly aimed for the Formula Student competition. We got a hold of all the rule books. We got a hold of like a couple of CAD models for the engine. I remember discussing 600cc engines, like, with so much hype, and going through the rule book.
Every
And
FSAE team's dream to get the biggest possible engine out there.
exactly. So you have to keep in mind, again, we're fresh out of school and we're in that mentality. We've not learned about the practicalities of sourcing things and last minute, these things you don't even get it here in the market. Like how are you going to source it?
Hmm.
Sooner, it's quite soon, we figured that we'd bitten off more than we could chew. uh, this was going to be way too difficult for freshers. We had no previous design, or even we didn't even fail once to have a reference to. We didn't have a failure to refer to.
Yes.
So what we then decided to do was, there were go-kart competitions.
Hmm.
A go-kart is not exactly a Formula Student car, but close enough. You
It's a
could
good
say
start.
it's a good start, uh, especially after seeing the extent to which it would have been putting effort for a Formula Student car. Doing a go-kart itself for us as freshers, I thought would be really challenging,
Hmm.
and it was. Yeah, so that's the initial story of how we started, and we went on to build our first go-kart.
Yes. So, for people who don't know, that's how Velocita started. The first project Velocita ever took over was the go kart. And yeah, they did participate in an event called NKRC, National Karting Championship. Is that right? And it was held in Bhopal. Oh, yeah, Kolhapur. So, uh, yeah, so like you were talking about something about your criterias for your team. So, what do you think made the first team of Velocity Racing unique?
So again, as I said, we didn't want any seniors in the team.
Hmm.
So our main criteria was looking out for people who were interested in cars, who were motivated. They had to have some kind of drive, and they had to be people we knew. Because at that point of time, again, as I said, you're freshers. You don't really know how publicizing in college works. You
Hmm.
see other people doing it, but you really have no idea how you yourself, as a fresher, get into any of this.
Hmm.
So we just spoke to a couple of our friends in other classes. We found people who were interested, motivated, and I will probably touch upon this later. But at a certain point of time, we also considered, uh, as a first-time team and having never done this before, we were concerned about budget and how it would work out splitting between people. So the more people you have, the easier it becomes
On
per
an
person,
individual person, yeah.
an individual person. That perhaps should be a criteria that you give weight to only if it's really critical. Don't take that as the criteria
As the
straight away,
main
because
point.
you might end up taking people into the team that you may regret later on. So it's better if it's very critical and you really need it for the success of the car, then okay, go ahead if that's really critical and if that's your last option. But otherwise, I would suggest not going that route. Just find people who are motivated, who have some self-drive to do something in college. That would be the main takeaway, I would say.
So coming to what happened at the event. So I want you to talk a little bit about the first time ever designing something yourself and the process, what it got us for Velocita in the end.
All right. So the first thing I'd say straight outright about our first go-kart is it was very over-designed. It was built like a tank.
That's our
It
usual go-to line, built like a tank.
built like a tank, yeah. In fact, it was so over-designed that we found it difficult to scrap it later because we
Wow.
had to cut up the parts and all that process was so difficult in like tearing the thing down. um, the reason why it was over designed, I don't really fault our team for that because as I told you, we were all noobs at that point of time. And since I had taken the lead of the design, my criteria at that point of time, I think is just a natural inclination of mine. I need to see the justification for any given design that you have. I found my belief was that that's the only way it should be done. I've later come to realize that that does not necessarily work always, and perhaps it's not the best approach all the time. Sometimes it's just going to force you to do stuff that won't work out. But at that point of time, as freshers, like the simple example again is always our axle. It was a monster, a 40 solid axle. The reason we ended up with that 40 is because I needed to see the math working out for it. And as a fresher, pulling out some random machine design textbook, getting out the shaft equation, you have no idea when you're a fresher about all these factors. Like, what's the if a load is intermittent and jerky, use a factor of 1.7, or if the load is smooth, use a smaller factor. We wanted the car to work, so obviously we wanted it not to break down due to any stupid underestimation of loads.
Right.
Which is why we took all the factors as safe as we thought we should take it at that time. We had no reference, as I said, prior reference. We did speak to a couple of people. We tried to get as much information as we could, but then in the end, to the best of our abilities, we used the information at our hand. And things like, the 40 axle, like that's what we got based on our loading conditions and all. At that point, we knew that you don't need a 40 axle to power a go-kart. But that was not enough for me at that point of time. We're like, okay, see, this is how it works out. We can justify or explain ourselves for choosing this. If it's wrong, tell us why it's wrong. Otherwise, to the best of our knowledge, this is how it worked out for us. So those are some main points of our design. It was like heavily over designed. That's like a highlight of our first design.
But that over design did
Yeah.
help you in something else as well.
Uh, I mean, it did help us in some way, as in we learned how not to over design it later in the future, like why you
Hmm.
shouldn't go overboard, and it made us rethink the whole second design and like readdress those points. So in that case, yeah, it definitely was a learning.
Yes.
And yeah, so that was about our first card. Is there anything particular that you want addressed about our first card? Something in particular that you want to know about?
Oh, why don't we talk about how we start the car up? That neat
Oh
little
yeah,
tidbit.
the doorbell switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of our car. So we had to figure out again the electrical wiring and stuff was, as mechanical engineering students and as again as freshers, we've
Hmm.
not worked on things like this before, and we've just had the internet and other books as resources. We had to bypass the whole ignition system of that bike
Hmm.
that we used as the donor for the cart, and we ended up using a doorbell switch to start the. It was pretty cool, and like you guys should probably include that in your vehicles as well as heritage.
Yeah, I mean, we
Probably mount
tried,
it on the steering or something.
but it kind of looked out of place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, well, actually,
But you should
we
still
should
have like
try.
an alternate option
Yeah,
somewhere.
an
Yeah,
alternate
within the
option.
cockpit.
But yeah, we did
Yeah.
do our own jugaad kind of ways to get some things work. Like we have our own safety switches, which are like ignition
Uh,
wires cut out of it, and then we just join it for it to work again. So yeah, we did learn a lot of nice electrical tricks from you guys. So coming to the whole takeaways, like which you already spoke about, but as a team, there's something that you really learned. That's what took you towards the next few other teams, the second and the third team that way we came in.
okay, so team wise, and I guess this would be critical to anybody who's planning on starting a team and wanting it to continue. If that is something you value, the continued existence of that team. If this is not just a one-shot team that you're just putting together just for one competition and and that's it, then probably this is not such an important factor. You might have friends for your first team that will work out well. If you wanted to continue, you have to really make sure you recruit freshers early so that you get the best,
Hmm.
because there are only a couple of people or maybe a handful of people among the freshers that are joining your college who will be really motivated and interested,
Hmm.
and you're going to lose them if there are multiple teams in your college. If there are several teams vying for their attention, you've got to pitch yourselves and attract that talent,
So you
as
need to keep the
any big
fresh
company would
talent.
tell you.
Exactly.
Exactly. You have to get fresh talent, and the second thing is make sure you don't overload seniors, because as
Hmm.
seniors move into higher years, third and fourth year, they get a lot of changes in priorities. And it's understandable. People will, you're in the third year, you're in the fourth year, placements start coming up. um, I've known a lot of people whose interests have shifted throughout the course of engineering. Again, people are always on an ever-growing path. You don't just know your purpose like that, and
Hmm.
especially when it comes to engineering. I know a lot of people who've come here who don't really want engineering and who are not really sure about it. And later on, they eventually find out, and so good for them. So in that sense, I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket and load the same group of people that you started the team with as they move into third and fourth year. Keep getting fresh people because they are the ones who will keep your team forward. Make sure you recruit early. Make sure you pitch your team early and that you can attract talent, and make sure as a senior, if you are leading the team, make sure you are willing to let go of the ropes to freshers. It might be a little difficult to do that, but if you
Yes.
want the team, if you want the young team to continue, you have to learn to let go. And it's quite difficult, especially when you are part of the team that started it.
Hmm.
You may want some things to be a certain way forever, maybe, but you can't just have it like that. You have to let go at some point of time.
Hmm.
And for that, I would say give some freedom to the freshers, let them take over. They have to really feel that they own it, like the team is theirs. They shouldn't feel like they're joining a team, doing work for your team, and then exiting the team at some point of time,
Hmm.
maybe in their senior years. They should come in and they should feel that accountability, that okay, this is my team, okay, this is my car, okay, I have to recruit the new juniors. I have to make them feel the same way. And you have to get that ownership into them. So I would say let go of the reins. So these are the things like team wise that I've learned. It's a
Hmm.
mistake that we did with the second team because we recruited too late.
Hmm.
And so some of the people in the team were not as motivated and as driven. You get a lot of people who just say they're interested, but they're not willing to put in the hours of effort required to build anything, a go-kart and much more an FSAE car.
Hmm.
So
So for those who don't know, the first and second team were go-karts, and the third team is was what happened in 2017, and that's where our batch got recruited. And
that's when we finally, I was so happy with the students that we got in your batch because, as I said, the second team was not so great. When the freshers, third batch of freshers came around, I was like, we have to make a banging video. We have to make uh, great content. We have to pitch ourselves properly and do it as early as possible. I remember like booking the auditoriums and all way ahead,
hmm.
just so that we could just put ourselves forward, say, you know what, okay, guys, listen, you guys are fresh into college, consider us.
Hmm.
We've done XYZ. We would really like you to be in our team. And I also made sure that we did not have any particular goals at the time. I remember you asking me whether we were going for FSA.
Yes.
And at that point of time, I knew I couldn't commit with the third and fourth years that were already there with us.
Hmm.
Because I knew if it was that commitment was not enough, because with that commitment, I knew it wouldn't happen. So I did not want to commit to an FSA car at that point of time.
Hmm.
However, I also knew if the freshers I'm talking to at that point of time, if they're keen on doing it, if they put their heads together, they can. So at the same time, I don't want to say no, we're not doing it.
Hmm.
So what I said at that point is, see, we will support you if that's what you want to do. We will support you and we will pass down whatever we know and we will cheer you from the sidelines.
Hmm.
But I have to know that you guys really want to do that. And the again, as I said, the batch that we got with you guys was awesome.
Well, I can vouch for the good marketing you guys did with the video. It was a really good 2-minute banger video that you made. I remember that. And then I was like, okay, these guys made 2 cars. That's a lot. Like, it was too good. It impressed me. And yeah.
I'm glad you thought it that way. Yeah, so I guess that again, it's a two-way street. You need input from both sides, but yeah, again, it's important to get the right people in, and as I said, get them in early,
Hmm.
get the people who are interested. That's it.
Well, I guess you should be lucky that I joined Velocita Racing instead of the others. But then, how hard was it to let go of the rein and be like, okay, go ahead, Pranay, go do your car? When I think what was 2 months
So
after recruitment that you gave me the mandate to continue.
yeah, so I guess circumstances may also dictate the degree to which someone would be comfortable in letting go of the reins. Since it was you, and since I knew you were as interested as you were, and I saw you taking initiative to encourage other people to, vouch for FSA, telling the team, no, you know what, we can do this. It's possible. Because I saw that, I felt comfortable in saying, yeah, you know what, okay, you're probably a good choice to lead the new team.
Honored.
I don't know if I don't know if somebody else would have the same experience. Like perhaps there's someone else out there who's a third year, fourth year looking for a fresher, and he doesn't have that sort of fresher with him. It might be more difficult for him to let go of the reins, and probably it might work out better for him if he stayed. So I really don't know how this thinking of mine would scale to other people's situations. I know it worked out for us.
Yes.
But I guess that's all I can say. Again, if you find someone as motivated as you think they should be for the job, then definitely hand the reins over. I don't think you'll be worried then to hand the reins over. If you know it's going into good hands, why would you be worried?
Well, now me being like fourth year, I am at that stage where I have to start focusing on who is the next person. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're trying to say. And then all your, in my opinion, what happened with your team, seeing the whole team process go from first year, second car, the second version of the car, how the team managed, I realized we need a lot of, in terms of sheer number of people, because we're building a bigger car, it's a bigger budget, bigger competition altogether. We're participating with top tier engineering colleges. I knew you guys did a good thing to actually pick in a lot of people, because what experience you had for the 2 years, that people will drop out eventually when they start losing interest. That was good. So I had a lot of talent to work with in the first place. Even if I lost, let's say 30% by the end of training sessions and getting our things together, I still had enough personnel in a way to keep this project going. And if I think about it now, if I lost maybe another 20%, I would have been in a critical situation to not even finish my first project. So it was at that point. So in a way, so to my listeners, this is what I need to tell. These guys gave me my first team. It wasn't me who chose and stuff, but yeah, that gave me a very good starting position to go on. Along with the name of Velocita Racing, that we have a 2-year history. For sponsorship or for anything else that we need for our team to work, that was what we needed. So more on that on the future episodes. We're going to definitely talk in detail about team building, choosing what kind of a competition, or in general, what are we aiming for. Those will be in the next set of episodes. And coming to Steven, thank you so much for joining this episode of my podcast. There are a lot of information that I didn't actually know before, so I was actually very curious on listening while you're talking. So nice. Thank you so much for giving us such nice insights of Velocita Racing.
Thank you for having me, Pranay. It was very fun.
Yeah,
I like talking about it.
Well, you're my first guest on the podcast, so cheers to that.
Yeah, I'm honored. I just have water with me.
It's good. Cheers. Yep. So you guys can follow Steven on Instagram at Aristhrottle, that ARARIS.throttle. And thank you for listening.
People get the reference. It's a merging of my interest in philosophy and cars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah. Dude,
Aristotle.
Damn. This is good. Okay, so thank you for listening to the episode of Racing Journey. If you like this podcast, please leave a like and a good rating on your streaming platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and share it with all your friends in the FSAE community and anybody who's trying to aspire to be a part of the FSAE world. You can follow me on Instagram at HeadHoonigan, the podcast at Racing Journey Podcast, to know when a new episode is released. Stay safe, be kind.